Andy, thanks for joining us. Obviously, we've got the FA Youth Cup to look forward to on Tuesday. Home draw against Colchester. How much are you and the boys looking forward to that one?
Well, it's something the players always look forward to every year. It's a great competition. It's a tough draw for us this year. We've done reasonably well the last couple of seasons, and we're thoroughly looking forward to it on Tuesday night, John.
Colchester, as you said, doesn't get much tougher than that, does it, in the first round draw?
Well, it's fairly tough. Obviously, we've got a number of college sides that enter at this level, who we've played over recent seasons. Colchester are a Category 2 club, so their infrastructure, their investment is bigger than ours. They're recruited very well. They recruit nationally now, so it will be a tough game. They won our respective league last year before moving up to the division that they're in now. So yeah, it will be a real tough game, but one we're looking forward to, and one we think we can obviously win.
It's one as well with the cup draw that, like you said, it means so much to the lads that often you see them really raise their game. Results haven't been as good recently for the under-18s, but you have had players missing and you'll have them available, which you do anyway.
They should be available, yes. Obviously the success in the youth side is measured by obviously players that hopefully develop and get through to the first team squad. We like to win games along the way. That's been difficult in some respects lately without the likes of Sam Ling and Monteo Adjaman with the first team, Scott Cashgett in the first team squad. Injury to, unfortunately, Sandro Semedo, who we think is a real good prospect and has now signed a professional contract at the club. So we've been a little bit decimated by injuries, as have the first team, and that's affected results. But we're really pleased to see lads involved in the first team environment, which is where we want them to be and where they hope to progress to on a permanent basis at some point in their careers.
People often say it's great to see the young lads involved in the first team, even if they're just travelling with the squad and on the bench. But what is it in particular they get from that sort of experience?
Well, it's the experience about being around senior pros, how to conduct themselves. Obviously, they train with these players. They see it firsthand the difference in the levels of football, and it gives them an idea of the areas which they need to improve on.
How pleasing was it to see Scott Cashgett make it on the other night?
Yes, very pleasing. Very pleasing. Scott's worked hard. He's a very talented player who we've got high hopes for. Should he be given an opportunity, hopefully at some stage on a regular basis, then that'll be up to him to take the opportunity. That's what players need. They need opportunity, and that's the only way they can actually prove that they're good enough. But we hope that that's something that's going to continue at the club, and we'll see more success from the products of our youth system.
How pleased are you with where the academy is at the minute?
Well, it's something we're always trying to improve. I think there's good work in place before I came here. I think we've continued that, and it's something we've got to look to push on and compete with not only local clubs but clubs of similar stature. I mentioned Colchester United, and there's one or two others where there's a lot of investment going into youth football now, and it's something that we need to keep on top of and keep improving what we've got at the club. And facilities and recruitment are massively important. If you want to keep your best players as well, it's what they need to see is a pathway through to the first team, and a philosophy from the top that where they can see that they're going to get a chance, they're going to get an opportunity at the club, which the likes of Moses, the likes of Scott Cashgett, obviously that bodes well for us. It's something we want to improve on. It's something that at the club over the years, one of the major obstacles we have is to keep hold of our young players. I think we've probably lost 7 or 8 players over the last 3 to 4 years to the likes of Arsenal, to Spurs, to Chelsea, to West Ham, to Stoke City. Lads that are maybe 14, 15, 16, we hope they're going to come through and be part of our system, but they're lured away to bigger clubs, and that's something we want to stop. And to do that, they want to see that pathway, they want to see a chance that they're going to make it at this club, and that's why we have to keep up with what's going on around us.
You mentioned the local area. That's something that you can see there's a conscious effort gone into recently, isn't it, to improve the...
Yeah, we like any club, you're only as good as the players you've got, and the recruitment's paramount in terms of where we want to improve. Miguel de Souza has come in this season, and he's done some excellent work and we think he's really building a stronger network in the local community that maybe not was missing, but certainly needed improving, and he's doing a great job with that. We've got some exciting young players that he's brought to the club, and they'll need time. They're not ready quite yet, but we're hoping they'll continue to develop, and it's an area we need to improve in.
What's interesting as well is you mentioned there that the players that you lose out on that go out and get lured away by the clubs, but there's a lot of players in there and they do go away but they do make money for the club. Perhaps the people.
Yes, yeah, no, that's important. Yeah, those players that we've lost to those clubs, obviously we get compensated financially, so that can be reinvested into the football club, which is important. Obviously, the biggest one has been Moses Odubajo, fantastic player that was popular amongst players, staff, and fans alike, and an exciting talent that we would have all liked to have kept him. But to recoup the money that we have has obviously benefits the football club. We've seen Alex Finney was offered a professional contract, sadly turned it down, and has gone to Bolton Wanderers. Like I say, alongside a group of younger players over the last few years that have gone into other things. No, so it's we want to keep those players. We want to see them come into our first team, and their value will multiply playing for our first team rather than losing them at a younger age. But it's important that money's reinvested. That it improves the infrastructure for the future. It's been very encouraging to see Charlie Granger get selected for England. We've got one or two other players that are on the England radar, and we've got a number of players that are being watched by Premier League sides. We want to keep those players.
You mentioned that you want to see the players in the first team and thrive in there. How important is it from an academy's point of view that there's a philosophy that runs down throughout the club, from the first team down? Yeah,
I think it's very important. You can have good youngsters, but unless there's that belief and there's that philosophy from the very top, it's very hard to break through as a young player. So that is important. Like I said, I think they'll be given opportunity at the club. It's something we want to see continue at the club. The club's got a tradition over many years of producing young talent, and we're obviously very keen for that to continue.
Just want to mention a little bit about Moses. Obviously moved on in the summer. Was he one of those players that, the minute you saw him, did you always think he was going to go on and achieve great things, or was he? I know players develop at different speeds, don't they?
Yeah, no, he was a player that came into us on trial. He impressed us from the start. He wasn't someone you thought would go on to what he has gone on to. Obviously, he got released at Millwall, and I'm not saying it was a mistake of Millwall's. It wasn't. We're all released players that have maybe proved us wrong, but I think he was one of those. Moses, he had a fantastic attitude. He had attributes of pace, and he was two-footed, and he developed slowly, to be honest. But he just continued to get better, and that was the key to it. He never levelled out. He was always, as weeks and months went by, you just saw little improvements that led him to getting into the first team. And I think he'll continue to improve at Brentford. Without being disrespectful to Brentford, I think that will be another stepping stone for him.
It showed as well, didn't it, that sometimes you have to wait, and keep putting. Because even when he was first to pro, he had those loan spells, didn't he? He still had to wait for his opportunity, and then it just happened to grasp it when it came, didn't it?
Yeah, that's right. He had a number of loan spells. I think went to St Albans, to Bishop Stortford. I think he had a third loan spell as well. I remember travelling across southeast of England to watch him on those games and to check his progression. And fortunately, he come back to the club and he got his chance.
How important is that loan system for the work experience loans as well for the academy? We've seen Kane Adams obviously out at Royston at the minute. Is it just a case of they offer something that you just can't coach? Yeah,
but they offer that competitive environment. A dressing room, a different dressing room, where the emphasis is on winning. It's on nothing else, but it's just about winning the football match, and I think that's a good experience for them. Points are precious to any club. Players get paid, even at non-league level, so it's important to those guys that they're getting results. So it's a tough environment for young players to go into, and I think it's great for their learning. Like you said, it's something that can't be coached. I think a little bit this year it's better for us in terms of we're in in a reserve team league. So players, hopefully, our scholars will get maybe 15 games playing the reserve team football with other senior pros around them, against senior pros. So I think that's important, so that will bridge the gap a little bit for us as well. But the loan system is one we look to take advantage of. You know, like we said, we've got injuries, etc. But Kane Adams playing out on loan at Royston is to the detriment of maybe youth team results, but it's to the benefit of the player. So we see that as being more important.
You touched upon the reserve team this year. Obviously, that's a team that you've been sort of looking after as well, and something that you helped to push for, isn't it? Why was that? What's the importance of getting the reserve team?
Just again, that gap we spoke about. It's a big jump from under 18 football to first team football. And as a young player, if you can play in a stadium environment, if you can play alongside seasoned pros from your own club and against seasoned pros from the opposition, it allows you to showcase your talents and like I said before, to see if you can bridge that gap between youth and first team football. It gives the manager and the coaching staff a better perspective as well, I think, of where you're at as a player.
I think one thing that strikes you about Orient as an academy, perhaps more so than when I've been to other clubs on our travels, is how involved the scholars are with the first team, just on a day-to-day basis, in terms of, you know, they eat in the same place, they're always on top of each other, they use the same gym and everything else. Is that sort of a real special important thing for the club, do you think?
Yeah, I think it's I wouldn't say it's unique, but it's becoming less common at clubs. Some academies will have separate training grounds from the first team, separate buildings, and I think the closeness in which we work with the first team is certainly of benefit to the club as a whole, and certainly the scholars. We train next to them, like you say, we eat together. Scholars will train with the first team, whether it's a numbers thing or whether it's an opportunity thing for that young player because they've been doing well. So they have got that opportunity, and it is of great benefit to them.
Obviously, there's been a fair few changes at the club recently, different people stepping in to do different jobs. You've obviously, as Kevin was interim manager, stepped up to help him and assist him on the training. But how did you find that as an experience?
I found it thoroughly enjoyable. There's a real good group of professionals there. I thought they're very, very receptive to training and ideas, and yeah, it's something I enjoyed. Obviously, it's a different type of pressure. You know, it's not a long-term pressure where you're trying to produce a player. It's about instant results, and obviously they were indifferent. It was difficult with the amount of injuries and suspensions that seems to have faced the club over the course of the season. You know, under the leadership of Russell, under the leadership of Kevin, and under the leadership of Mauro. You know, it's symptomatic of the season in terms of the problems we've had. But in terms of the day-to-day side of it, I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Obviously now it's back more focus on the academy, but what perhaps people won't see is that you do still, from time to time, will help with the first team when you're often there and talk to some of the defenders and stuff when necessary. Yeah,
you know, hopefully there's still a certain role I can play, and any help that I can give, I certainly will. You know, I mean, sometimes players will ask for some advice or an opinion on something, like Sir Matty Baldry, and I'm only too happy to give that.
Back to the FA Youth Cup, and obviously last year we spent a lot of time up and down the country in the minibus, some trips there. But this year, it's good to see us back at Brisbane Road, and a chance for the Oda supporters to come out and get behind the lads.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, it was. We did cover some miles last year. We played AFC Tottenham. We played Swindon Town, culminating in defeat at Stoke City, which was a good game and one we felt we should have won. And it was tinged with a bit of disappointment, not only because of the result, but the fact we didn't play at the Britannia Stadium. But we didn't have the opportunity to play at Brisbane Road, and that's also something I think the boys missed out on a little bit. So that'll be a great opportunity for us this year, and I know it's one they're thoroughly looking forward to. It's one that the build up to it, the day can't come quick enough. Sometimes they can get overawed by the excitement of it and the occasion, but it's going to be a good night for them, hopefully, on this coming Tuesday, and hopefully there's a decent turnout from the Orient fans to support the lads.
I think the one thing that struck me in particular watching it last year was the first time I watched it for Youth Cup, it's just how much it means to the players, isn't it?
Yeah, I think you speak to any seasoned pro and they will always look back, and they've played in many big and important games, and they still look back at the Youth Cup as one of their most important. And it's an occasion we always say to the players, look, if you don't progress, if you don't make it into a professional career, it is a game and a night and a competition that you'll hopefully look back with fondness, but you'll certainly remember it.
So you mentioned every pro has got fond memories of their own FA Youth Cup run. And tell us about yours. I know you had an extensive playing career.
My experience, Johnny, was I was a scholar at Southend United for my sins back in the day, and we faced Stoke City away in, I think, 1989, and we beat them 2-1 at the Victoria Ground, and I was fortunate enough to be offered a professional contract the next day by the manager at the time, which was David Webb, whose son Danny currently works for us. So that was my abiding memory of the FA Youth Cup, so it was a positive experience for me, although the one that sticks in my memory most recently is getting turned over by Stevenage 2 years ago. So.
We've just been interrupted by Academy Manager Richard Thomas with a bit of breaking news that Jay Beckford, an under-16, has been called into the England under-16 squad, which is great news for everyone.
That's fantastic news. Yeah, it's good to see that we're getting recognition from the England scouts. Being a smaller club, you sometimes feel like you may be overlooked, but that's great news for the academy as a whole. Fantastic news for Jay Beckford as an individual who's a talented young player who works very hard at his game. So we're really pleased for him, and credit must go to the likes of Richard Thomas and Danny Webb and Mark Bentley and all the other staff that have worked quite closely with Joe over the last few years. But I'm sure he'll do his club and his country proud. He's one player amongst that group who we think's got a great opportunity. So our trick there might be to try and hold on to him.